In this video, I'm gonna show you how to create a MATLAB function. So MATLAB functions are very specific types of files, okay, which takes inputs and computes outputs using these inputs. All right? So it's like a functions in the conventional sense in mathematics, okay? You have y equals f of x, you take a value of x and you compute y through a formula that gives y in terms of x, okay? So I'm gonna show you how to do the same kind of thing in MATLAB. So first, you're gonna create a new file, okay? So you're gonna save it, so you wanna go to the right directory. So here I have created a folder called 101 and code, and I'm gonna save all my codes in here. So to create a new MATLAB function, you go to new here and function. All right. And you see you have a new page that's popping up. And it already has a template here. So you need to understand what each of these mean, okay? Because you're gonna have to substitute all these by what you want, okay, for your particular problem. So function here is a keyword. Never touch that one, okay? It's very important. It's there, okay, and it's in blue, which shows that it's a keyword that can't be changed, that shouldn't be changed. All right, and it basically says that you are creating a function. That's how MATLAB recognizes that this file is a function. All right, then you have this very particular template here. Output arguments equals untitled5, which is actually the name of the function, of in bracket input arguments. So it's basically the same as y equals f of x, okay? You have the output y equals the function f of the input argument x, all right? So first we're gonna give the function a name, and here you can give it any name you want. In this particular case, I'm gonna create a function which calculates the square of a number, x, okay? So I'm gonna call it square. All right, and the input argument is going to be some value which I'm going to call x. So the output argument, I'm going to call it y. So you see I have y equals the square of x. Okay, now in green here, and you see it becomes green because of the percent. Okay, if I remove the percent, it's not green anymore, but I'm going to leave it like that. Well, here basically MATLAB is not gonna run, okay? It's not gonna compute what is in green. It's a comment, okay? And the comments are very useful, okay? It's a very good idea to just write a simple sentence which says exactly what the function does, okay? So if you reuse your code later, or you don't have to go through every lines of your code to try to figure out what it does, here, if you just write in the comments in one sentence that explains that, then you will know right away. So here I'm just gonna write computes the square of x. All right. So then I need to define y, the output, okay, because that's what the function calculates. So I need y in terms of x, and because I know that I want to compute the square of x, then y is simply going to be equal to x squared. And I put a semicolon here at the end, okay, of the line, and I advise you to do that, okay? So basically once you run the code, MATLAB doesn't show the result of this line, okay, in the command window. And it's called printing, okay? So MATLAB doesn't print these results. It's only gonna print the result of the function, okay? So if you remove that, it's gonna print it twice. Okay, and here you have and, all right, which is also a keyword, but this one is optional. You don't need to, but I advise you to leave it there because it looks a bit more neat. All right, so here we go. We have our first function. So I'm gonna save that. And one very important point is that the name you give to the file, okay, the .m file, should be the same as the name of the function you've created. So don't change that. All right, so I save that, and you see that now in the folder I have the function file created. So let's use that. I go back to the command window here, okay, and I'm gonna use this function. So you type the name of the function, square, but remember it has one input argument x, okay? So don't just put x here, okay, because x has not been defined. So if I put x, of course, it's undefined function or variable x. MATLAB doesn't know what x is. So you need to give it a special value, all right? So for example, if I input 1, well, what the calculation is gonna do here is the square of 1, okay? So the function is gonna return the square of 1. And the square of 1 is 1, so we should expect to have an answer 1. And we do. The answer is 1. If I take 7, all right, then the square of 7 is 49, and we get indeed 49. All right, I can take any number, okay, 2539, all right, and MATLAB is going to calculate, or this function, I should say, square, is going to calculate the square of this number, which is that one there, okay? So you see, it's very useful to calculate the square of any number now. All right. Now let me create a second function, which is going to calculate this time the power of any number, but I'm going to give the power to be computed as an input as well. So let's go to new function, okay, you go back to the editor here, and you see now you have a second function that has opened, okay, square is your old one, and now you have this new one, untitled 6. So this is the same template as before, so I'm gonna call this function power n. I'm not going to use power here because power is a function which is inbuilt to MATLAB, okay? So I'm going to give it power n, which MATLAB doesn't have in its memory. All right. And here I'm going to have two arguments this time, which are x and n, because I want to calculate x to the power of n for any x and any n, all right? And I have one output, which I'm going to call y as well. Okay. So I have y equals x to the power of n. Here I'm going to leave a quick comment and just say that this function computes x to the power of n, okay, and the formula, okay, which is going to give me the output. All right, it's very important to define this output. Well, it's given in terms of the input x and n as x to the power of n. All right. And that's it. So now I save that and I make sure the name is the same, power n, that's all good. All right, and it's saved. So now I'm gonna run the power n function, but give it two input arguments this time. Remember, it's x and n. So to make sure that it works, okay, here I have a complicated calculation, okay, I calculated the square of 2539. So let's try to do the same here using the power n function. 2539, and the power is 2, okay, so I have two arguments, the x and the n. If I run that, you see I get exactly the same number. So it seems to work. So now I can use that to calculate anything I want, okay? If I want, for example, 2 to the power of 8, okay, so it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 8 times, then it's 256, okay? If I want, I don't know, 345 to the power of 6, for example, I have this very large number because it's 345 times 345 times 345 6 times, okay? So you see you have 1.6 to the power of 15 roughly, okay? So it's a very, very large number. So you see this function can create any power of any number, okay? So this ends this first video, okay? There are many more features involving functions, okay? Here I've just given you 2 examples, but in future videos you will see these more complicated examples. All right.